Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at ClaytonsAFC on Twitter. We're here to kick off the 24-25 campaign. We've done our season preview, but there's 38 game weeks to preview, which will hopefully be the first one against Wolves on the journey to bringing the league title back to N5 for the first time since the 2003-04 season. To kick off the first episode, Wolves at home, joined by a very special guest, Finn. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. How's your summer been?
Thanks, Clayton. All good, yeah. It's gone round quickly. Looking forward to the season starting, of course. Always the best time of year. Most hopeful, and can't wait to get started.
Lovely stuff. And it's to timestamp this. It's the day before the season starts, Friday, the 16th of August, and it's 1:10. So Mikel Arteta's presser is actually in 20 minutes. So whatever we say could well be outdated by the time it's done, but I highly doubt it. Sounds like everything's going all right. Preparation's going good. Timber's back in training. So we'll see how we get on. For people that are new here, I'll just do the usual spill before we get into it. We do these episodes every Friday. So typically on a Friday afternoon, we'll try cater around press conference times, but obviously we all have day jobs, so we go live when we can. But short, sharp previews, we go through predicted lineups, do a little bit of tactical talk, what we can expect in the game. I often ask opposition fans what they think their lineup will be, and I'll talk through that, and then we give our score predictions. And off we trot. So they're usually 15 to 30 minutes, nice, short, sharp ways to get into the weekend. And then on a Sunday, we'll review the game where that's a bit more of a longer episode, 60 to 90 minutes, a real tactical deep dive on what we saw and going through the key moments. So if you're new here, if that sounds like a bit of you, it's usually Nima, who's my co-host, that joins me. And when Nima's not around, we have great guests like Finn and a few other guys who will be on throughout the season. And for those on YouTube, you saw the little cheek away from Finn there. So if it sounds like a bit of you, subscribe to the channel and join us throughout the season. I've got a feeling it's going to be a memorable one. But to kick it off, Wolves at home tomorrow. So in 24 hours' time, I'm sure we'll both be in a beer garden somewhere, slightly wobbly. So let's do this sober. It's but I had a good preseason. I think Arteta's been very vocal about people arriving in good fitness. I think the squad in general are just looking after themselves very well. You can tell the kind of general mindset and the hunger's there. So I'd say there were two key lineups to look at. One was against Leverkusen, where I probably should have had that up and ready to go. But from memory, bear with me for 2 seconds, because there was a couple of tweaks between the Leverkusen game and the Lyon one. So the lineup against Leverkusen was David Raya in goal, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. It was a midfield three of Jorginho, Odegaard and Havertz with Vieira, Jesus, Trossard. And obviously back then, Saka and Rice had only just come back, so they had substitute appearances. We beat Leverkusen really comprehensively, winning 4-1 in that game. Really impressive. The final game of pre-season for us was against Lyon, and obviously there were some changes to the 11. That team, which you can, for those on YouTube, can see on the screen, was David Raya in goal, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. It was a midfield three of Partey, Odegaard and Rice, and up front was Havertz with Martinelli and Saka either side of Kai. How are you feeling lineup-wise going into tomorrow? What do you think Arteta will do? Not what you would like. What do you think Arteta will do?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two main possibilities, right? So, I mean, this Lyon lineup, really, I would not be shocked to see this 1-11 come out 2 p.m. tomorrow. You know, it's got Partey got back into the team end of last season. He played a lot of football. If he's ready to go, I think Arteta likes to have him in there. It looks like Martinelli might have nicked the left wing shirt back off of Trossard. I'm not 100% sure on that one. If you ask me,
what makes you say that?
I think this looks like the lineup I expect that will play tomorrow, and I think the fact that it was a lineup in the last friendly game is often quite revealing of what you're going to do the first week. And I just also think it's the position on the pitch where there's so little in it between Martinelli and Trossard that I will just defer to the team that played the last friendly. So I really do feel like it's going to be Martinelli's shirt to lose, even though Trossard was playing a lot at the end of last season, granted.
Yeah, fair play. It's an interesting one because I think fundamentally it comes down to I just think there's two decisions for Sunday. One is it Martinelli Trossard, and then the other is is it a midfield with a Partey or a Jorginho in there, or is it a
Yeah,
Gabriel Jesus, which then has the knock-on effect of Havertz going left 8? And I'm torn. So what I'll do, I'll say what the Wolves fans think the lineup will be. So I've been scouring through the Wolves forums, and it's really interesting. Like gauging the mood of
yeah,
opposition fans always gives me so much. Like they're expecting a hiding. Like we'll come on to score predictions in a second, but
right,
yeah, a few of them
yeah,
like they basically they're torn between Gary O'Neill going with a back 4 or a back 5 or back 3, however you want to say it. And
right,
I
okay,
think if they come to the Emirates with a back 4, I think we'll absolutely slaughter them. So one Wolves fan in particular, he's the Planet FPL correspondent. So he said he's
okay,
90% chance it will be a 4-2-3-1 with the keeper of Sarr, a back 4 of Doherty, Mascara, Totti, and Aït-Nouri, a midfield of Lamina and Gomez, with Rodrigo Gomez, Bellegarde, Hwang as the 3 behind Larson. He said he thinks there's a slight chance they move to a back 5 given the opposition. And if
yeah,
that's the case, it will be Dawson to come in for Bellegarde at that point. I mean, Cunha's back in training, so that's something to be aware of. But why I brought that up is this game, because I agree with you, like that team that we've got on the screen for us is what kind of finished out the season really strongly. Obviously, the
yeah,
left back was different, but I just look at this game and Wolves, thinking tactically, I think Wolves are actually we're gonna pin them in such sustained periods. They're going to be forced into parking the bus. And it's interesting because I actually asked Bradley does he think that it's going to be a deep block approach? What does he reckon? And he said probably some sort of hybrid. And he said there'll be times when they have no choice, but there will be periods where they probably become aggressive with their pressing.
yeah.
And Gary O'Neill is a manager that I do rate tactically. I just think there's going to be a gulf in quality in the two teams tomorrow. And
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely. I mean, I think he's probably pound for pound, as it were. He's one of the best managers in the Premier League. He speaks very well. He puts his teams out in a sensible fashion, but at the same time gives them a chance to win games. And yeah, I
yeah,
think that being said, I think that probably means it's more likely we'll turn up tomorrow and we'll see Wolves in a flat sort of 5-4-1, especially to start the game. Maybe if they weather the storm first 20 minutes, they'll come out a little bit. How that affects us, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they came out in a back 5 at all. I mean, you see it at our place so often, even with teams that don't necessarily play it every week.
yeah. And that, ironically, is what makes me lead to my prediction, which I think is going to be quite unpopular. I think it's going to be the same back 5, Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a midfield 3 of Rice, Havertz, left 8, and Odegaard. And I think it will be Saka, Jesus, and Trossard. And why I think that is, I agree. I think there'll be sustained periods where they're in a flat back 4. And I looked at that Leverkusen game, and even though Leverkusen didn't come with the intention of parking the bus, obviously they're an unbelievable team. Systematically, they play a back 3 with wing backs. And Gabriel
Yeah.
Jesus off the ball was constantly man marking the double pivot. So it was Granit Xhaka and I think Alex Garcia in that game.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when we were so front footed off the ball in the way we would regain the ball high up in their area, and the interchanging and movement between Trossard, Jesus, Havertz gave them such a headache. And I think when you're looking at a deep block, someone like a Jesus, someone like a Trossard, that constant interchanging with opening up space for a Havertz,
Yeah.
I think is the
100%.
perfect recipe. And I think you combine all of those attacking options. I almost don't think you need a Party and a Rice in midfield against the
No,
Wolves at
possibly
home.
not. Possibly not. I think as you alluded to there, one of my main takeaways from watching the pre-season games when Jesus had started was how sharp he looked off the ball and how much he was nicking the ball in and around the opposition's box. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if that was enough to give him the nod to start tomorrow, because it was really damaging teams that we were playing that were, with respect to Wolves, even better quality than Wolves. I remember, we played Manchester United, we played Liverpool, and he was winning so much ball at the top of the pitch that, yeah, it really wouldn't surprise me to see him start tomorrow, because I know Mikel's going to love that, love seeing that. As I say, he looks sharp, he looks fit. He's always involved when he's sharp and fit. So, yeah, I could see him playing quite easily.
Yeah, and this is my other thing. Like Mikel was so vocal in his praise for him. I think after the Leverkusen game, and he said like there was a different energy when he came back this summer. And I look at our stretch of the opening run: Wolves at home, Villa away, Brighton home, Tottenham away, City away, Tottenham away, City away, Villa away. I think they are games where you need a Party Jorginho and a Rice in midfield. You
Oh
need a
yeah, without
Havertz
a
up
doubt.
top. And I'm looking at that stretch, and I'm thinking, well, when is he going to play a Jesus? And again, if I combine that with what I think tactically is the best approach to actually unlock a deep block, that's
Yeah,
where I more and more lean towards it. And like I said, I think it will be unpopular. I think a lot of people will go with the team on screen, the one that played against Leon. But
yeah.
Martinelli, Trossard, if you had to hedge your bets, I know you said you think Martinelli's edged the shirt there. Do you think it is him then?
I think he'll. I do think he'll. I do think he'll play tomorrow. And again, I think there's a good argument for Martinelli to play against teams that are going to play the way we're expecting, because he's the only real winger we've got that's realistically going to start, who's going to really stretch that back line. I know they're going to be sat deep, but if you can stretch them even further, you can create a little bit of space between the defence and midfield, which you might not be able to create if they're only worrying about Trossard going around the outside. I mean, he's a great player, Trossard, but he's not got the raw pace that Martinelli's got. So I could definitely see Martinelli starting, especially, I think I'd be even. I'll contradict what your prediction was. I think Martinelli would be even more likely to start if Jesus started.
Yeah, makes sense.
I just think the way Jesus drops into those pockets, not that Havertz doesn't either, but the way Jesus really drops into the pockets, likes to come out to the left hand side. We all remember the flipping and the flopping from 2 seasons ago, where Martinelli would go up top, Jesus would go left. They'd swap round, try and pull defenders out. Is Mikel going to revert back to that now that everyone's sharp and fit and ready to go? Possibly.
Possibly, yeah, and you're right. Like, to be fair, it's not a contradiction. It's a very fair point. Like, I think Trossard and Jesus and Martinelli and Jesus equally they both have very good relationships, but in different ways, right? And like you said, that I think it was 22-23 season, that first 19 games before the World Cup, Martinelli and Jesus it was almost instantaneous, wasn't it? There were a few of the home games, like Leicester at home. We were looking at it like, oh my God, what have we got here? So I could, it's one of them. I cannot argue either way, I think, with your lineup or what I've seen some of the others being as well. So, but yeah, I think if there was like 10 minutes to go and I had to hedge my money, my final predicted 11 pre-team news, obviously Arteta may come out with a few things that throw some curveballs, but with the information we have right now, mine is Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Rice, Odegaard, Havertz, Saka, Jesus, and Trossard. What's yours?
I think I'm going to stick with the lineup on screen, just to refresh people that can't see the screen listing on audio. That would be Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. I mean, we didn't really get into Zinchenko. I think he will play. That's not something I'm particularly happy about, but
Is it even a question for you?
Based on what we've seen in pre-season, I think he's almost certainly going to start tomorrow. Whether or not that's the right decision or something I agree with is different, but I do think he will start him tomorrow.
Yeah, and again, like similar to the Jesus conversation, I just look at Zinchenko, and I don't know the order of preference in terms of our left backs, but we've got a lot of players that can play there. And I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, if it's Wolves at home where we can't feel comfortable playing, and because we all know his weaknesses, right? I personally think his weaknesses are overstated, but Wolves is a different ball game to playing Liverpool at Anfield, where it's Mo Salah. Because if Wolves will look to target Zinchenko, and Bradley, the Wolves fan who I spoke to, did say that, but Wolves are not going to be able to get the ball and sustainably attack our left-hand side as consistent as the top teams. And even when they get into that position, I think because of structurally how well set we'll be because of the dominance we have, when the ball comes in, I think we'll be well set to kind of take him on. I think teams like Liverpool are able to break with so much pace and power that Salah has the time and ability to cut in, and we're maybe not as well set. So I'm not as concerned about it.
I also think there's a possibility of a newer phenomenon. Obviously, Zinchenko didn't play much last season. From the year before, if Declan Rice is going to play in the left eight, which I think he probably will, because I'm going to predict that Partey's going to start in the 6.
Yeah, go on. Carry on with the rest of your lineup. Yeah,
he's going to have that. I'll say the rest of the lineup. I think it will be Partey. I think Declan Rice on the left hand side as an 8. Odegaard the other side. I do think Martinelli will nick the spot off Trossard, but as I say, that's my least. I'm 55-45 on that as opposed to the others. Havertz up front and Saka out on the right. But yeah, just to come back to that point, I think what Zinchenko has now, which maybe he didn't have before, last season obviously he didn't play much, but the season before that, Xhaka was defensively minded to an extent. But if he's got Declan Rice in the left 8 and he forwards into midfield, Declan Rice is going to be looking back over his shoulder a lot more and covering that position a lot more than even Xhaka was, or especially if someone even more attacking played in that left 8 slot. So it could hopefully cover off some of his weaknesses. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for this game at least.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think especially like you say, with Declan Rice in that spot, if it is him, I think he covers space better than anyone, to be honest. So yeah, my thing is more, like I said, I just don't think Wolves will sustainably be in that area enough for it to actually cause us concern. And if we're saying we think Wolves will set up in that kind of flat back 5, then Zinchenko, ironically, is someone that is really helpful in those situations because his on the ball quality usually outweighs his defensive negligence in games like this. So fingers crossed. But we've given the team predictions. We've spoken about Wolves. Score predictions. This is the fun bit. And guys, girls, if you're in the chat, send in your score predictions. Let's see how confident we are going into this. Never comes back to bite being confident going into a game ever. So yeah, send it into it.
Yeah. Score prediction for tomorrow. It's an interesting one. You go the whole summer, you get out of the rhythm of predicting the scoreline, especially for Arsenal. But I certainly think we'll win. I mean, I'm confident we'll win.
I fucking hope so.
But, yeah. I'm trying not to be too disparaging to any Wolves listeners we may have. But I think we do tend to win on the open day. We don't tend to get into that rhythm where we're really winning sort of 4, 5, 6-0 against opposition that maybe later in the season we would be able to. So I would have to go probably tomorrow for maybe a 2-0 win to Arsenal.
Sure.
I think nice and solid at the back. Hopefully no scares at the back, anything like that. Some players still building up a little bit of fitness. Early subs maybe for Saka, Rice, a couple of others. So hopefully, 2-0 up half time, control the ball second half, don't waste too much energy, and then start to look towards the tougher games coming up.
Yeah, I'm very much in agreement. I think the only thing that I'm slightly different on is this season. I think because last season we were integrating Rice and a new position, like even systematically, like we did the kind of Partey inverting from right back, didn't we? Like I think there was a lot of moving cogs and parts starting the season. And I was actually watching the Arsenal review of last season on YouTube the other day, and I actually forgot how long it took us to kind of really gel and in terms of fluidity and cohesion. And
it took a long time last season, really.
Yeah, and this season we're cherry picking, right? Like I think the core structure is set, and we're just sprinkling in a few players like a Calafiori. It looks like we'll probably get a couple of others in. So I think in terms of cohesion and stuff, we'll hit the ground running, and I'm going for a very comfortable 3-0. I think this will be a game where, we're dominant on the ball. If Wolves try to press us, we'll pick them off. If they sit back, I think we'll have really good positional rotation to unlock them. I hope it'll be nice to see us create consistently from open play, because I'm slightly concerned there is a dependence on us getting the first goal from set pieces, but I think it'll be a real comfortable 3-0. And just to guys in the chat, Marsh is in 3-0, I reckon. Tommy Gunn's in 3-0. Mike Halpin's in 3-0. And Mike will be doing the Wolves review with me on Sunday. And then just to double just to round that off, Marsh actually says, especially with no Neto for Wolves, we're all going to look like right mugs when it's 1-0 Wolves. Classic.
Yeah, that is the occupational hazard. But yeah, you know, and Wolves, Neto's going to be a big loss for them, right? I know he's out injured half the time anyway, but it's going to be, you know, maybe the fans will be in a bit of a dour mood. They've lost Neto, they've not reinvested the money yet. The players might be looking around like, you know, we're bleeding some of our best players here. Hopefully we're going to catch them at a good time.
Yeah, I really hope so. And yeah, just a couple shout outs to the guys who are in the chat before we get out of here. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. And like I said at the start, if you're new here, this is what we do. What's this? 25 minutes, short, sharp reviews where we just go through predicted lineups, talk a bit tactically about what we're expecting, score predictions, and then if there's time, a few questions and shout outs, which I'll do before we get out of here. So already said his score prediction. Tommy Gunn, afternoon, guys. Thanks for joining, mate. Bungle the Gooner from Tokyo, Japan. Banging shirt choice, Clates. Thank you very much. For audio listeners, I've got a very hipster Atletico Mineiro kit on. Marsh is in saying, was looking at a predicted Wolves lineup earlier. If we don't win comfortably, I'd be very concerned. Yeah, I think we all sound like we're very confident. Question for you, though, Finn. There's not many questions in, so we'll go with just this one from Uncle Mike, FPL Mike Halpin. Would you take Tony on a cut price still?
I feel like there's been a real sort of thing from the club where they've not come out publicly and said it, but they've allowed to leak the fact that they have gone off Tony for personality reasons. And for me, as soon as Mikel says that, I'm not really interested in the player. I would like to sign, you know, a reinforcement in the front three for sure. Tony's a great player at the end of the day, but if Mikel doesn't feel like he can gel with this team off the pitch and even on the pitch, mentality-wise, definitely avoid signing him.
Very well said. I've got nothing more to add. I literally agree with all of that. Yeah, it's a no from me, to be honest. There were a couple other questions. If you're right for time, I'll just whack them over.
Yeah, it's fine.
Marsh has got another one. Doesn't seem to be any real links to attacking reinforcement. Do you have any realistic targets, and do you think it will make a difference come the end of the season?
To be honest, I would have probably said Pedro Neto before he went to Chelsea the other day. I think that would have been a good signing for us. Someone that's good, got good potential, doesn't have to play every week, you know, and someone that could kind of play on both sides if needed. I love Havertz up front so much, and I think Jesus had such a good pre-season, and when he's fit and sharp and do so well, my attacking reinforcement would certainly be on the wing, and it would probably be a specialised right winger, someone that can take the load off Saka, because Trossard and Martinelli are great options on the left-hand side. Jesus can play out there as well if need be. Saka, you're looking at Nelson. I think we should be trying to move him on. Nketiah, we should be trying to move on. I think it's going to be contingent on outgoings.
Yeah, I agree.
If we can sell Nelson and Nketiah, I think we'll bring someone in. If we sell one of them, maybe not. If we don't sell either, I think it's Marino and that's it.
Yeah, I'm again in agreement with you. I think it's one of them. If we shift Nelson and Nketiah, I think we'll bring in an attacking player. And I'm the same as you. I'm not asked about it being a traditional number 9. I just like the idea of looking at the forward area as a group in terms of their profiles and attributes and what we've got. And I think we're lacking a kind of individualist that can, in the Champions League, Bayern Munich away, Man City away, Liverpool away, Aston Villa away, those games where we're really tight and struggling to break down teams, just have a player that can really bring in that individual firepower from any area of the attacking third.
I did see a rumour on Twitter yesterday. I don't know how serious it was or whatever, what the source was, but there was a bit of chat about getting Noni Madueke from Chelsea.
I saw that. I'm the same as you. I don't know what this.
Yeah, I would not be a bad signing at all. I wouldn't mind that sort of signing. You know, it's a good right winger, young. It would be happy to play second fiddle to Saka, play some games, and yeah, I think he's a good player. I mean, he came to the Emirates season before the one just gone, he dominated them and he was one of the best players on the pitch. So yeah, someone like that, young English guy, wouldn't be opposed. For me, it would be a right winger, definitely.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, guys and girls, thanks a lot for joining. It's not a question, but one thing just quickly to get your thoughts on before we get out of here. Marsha said, start with Zinchenko and see the game out with the beautiful Italian man. Just to add to that, he's obviously talking about Calafiori. Just looking through Arteta's presser quotes. Timber's in the squad for tomorrow. Tomiyasu's still out. Do you think Calafiori, Timber will start being eased in with subs? Could you see any starts for them in that? Like, obviously, we've got a tough opening run.
Yeah, I see. My thing about Arteta is a lot of people on social media, etc., say the better players he gets, backups, the more he's going to rotate because he's not really known for rotation. But I'm not sure that's actually true. I just think he just doesn't like rotating in general because we've had players who have been almost as good as other players in certain positions who have never been rotated in. So I don't think you can say with any certainty he's going to start rotating players in when we've got more depth on the bench. I know he's talked about and he's alluded to it, but I'm not sure he's necessarily going to follow through with it. So I would say if we've got a settled back four that starts well the first couple of games, I don't see it changing much.
Yeah, as someone that's predicted a team to rotate between game week 1 and 2, maybe don't listen to me. I do agree with you.
Maybe left back.
Yeah, you're right though. Like historically, we've not really seen it unless it's been enforced or something, right? And I think left back has been the position where we've typically seen it. But yeah, that's a half hour on the dot, I believe. So we'll get out of here. But before we do that, just another plug. Thanks a lot, guys and girls, for joining. It's been great to have so many of you live in the chat. We've predicted some comfortable wins there. So hopefully we start the season off with a great result tomorrow. And hopefully it's nice and cushy, no dramas, no bozo moments. Yeah. And just before we get out of here, I've seen a quote from Arteta that is the one I'm going to leave you with to get you in the mood. This team has still very much another level to reach. They give me the reasons to believe that. I see them every day, the way they train and play. So with that, let's hope we go and start the start of a hopefully memorable season tomorrow and slaughter Wolves. Finn, thank you very much for joining. Up the Arsenal. Cheers everyone.